Good afternoon and welcome to United TV. This is our Bariatric Friday. Today is July 26, 2024. As usual, Dr. Irgau is with me in our new studio. Thank you, Dr. Irgau, for being with us. We started a new cycle last week. Bariatric surgery types were our first topic. And this week, we are going to actually discuss intermittent fasting and the utilization of intermittent fasting in bariatric surgery process, pre and post surgery. Now, before we start, I still do my intermittent fasting Monday through Friday. Most days I'm 15 to 16 hours averaging. There are days that I can do up to 18, like right now. It's 3 p.m. and I did not eat anything since 8 p.m. last night. I'm gonna probably have a chicken gyro, but I haven't had anything for a long time. So one of the things, Dr. Irgau, when we are trying to talk about different issues, especially if this is not just for the bariatric patient, not just for those patients or those people who are fighting morbid obesity, but just anyone. Like I want to make sure what we are telling patients is something that we are able to relate and can follow. So starting last week, there was a case where we actually asked this patient to do more than 2 weeks Robard because of their BMI level. And there's this perception. The perception is, oh my God, can they do that long? That's even our care managers in some cases, because again, the perception is already built, so it's given to us. Robard is this like really crazy diet. I'm like, we did this before, but I was cheating when we did it last couple of years. Cheating in a way that I was using it as a snack rather than replacement. But then this time last week, I want to make sure that we were doing the right thing for that patient, and then see if this was doable. I look at the level and I said, okay, I can eat 4 portions of the Robard product. And I eat the chocolate pudding, and this time instead of having one by one, I had 2, and that was kind of breaking my intermittent fasting. So like usually when I'm in the office around like 1:30, I would have 1 meal with 2 puddings, and then what I realized when I had 2 of them, I just don't feel any hunger until dinner time. Then first 2 nights, I was able to eat 2 more, but then 3rd and 4th day, I'm like, it's just too much. So I'm going to have some salad, and just nothing, fancy. Just tomatoes, peppers, onions, cucumbers, and lemon juice, vinegar, and olive oil. So. And then I kind of go back and forth. In the last 10 days, I cheated 1 day. That was the day that I played tennis in the evening. So, and I'm like, okay, this is reasonable. Not only I'm able to do the Robard, but I'm able to do the Robard in the intermittent fasting.
Yes.
So, and really, like, I'm not trying to just, play the victim here. I did it just so that I can feel good about myself. When I tell the patient that you have to do this for 4 weeks, well, BMI 70. Well, this is doable. Now, the other thing is it's inexpensive. So each pudding is, I believe, a couple dollars. So hey, the minimum McDonald's is about $12 the meal, like this $12. So you can have the entire day with 1 meal of McDonald's or some other fast food. So then I feel much better today to report to you guys that this is doable. So you don't want to hear about this like, oh my God, why do I have to be on this special diet? No, you need it, and I need it. Everyone else needed time to time. But forget just the diet itself. I did it with intermittent fasting. There's 0 difficulty. Not like at any given point did I feel any hunger.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Obviously, what you obviously do that people need to know also, Kemal, is that you drink plenty of water while you do that. And of course, This is really abstaining from eating food whilst you're drinking plenty of water, and you're taking the Robard diet, which includes a lot of vitamins. So vitamins and micronutrients as well as water are essential when one is practicing intermittent fasting. So really, to go back to talk about intermittent fasting, what we're saying essentially is that we have to be able to devote some time in our waking hours where we are abstaining from eating, right? And that window of abstention can be any number of hours that we choose, right? And that is really essential, particularly in our society, Kemal, where really food is everywhere and it's there all the time, right? So as beings that are opportunistic eaters, whenever we see food, we will take advantage of it. It's just part of our nature because we're really primed to search for food based on the way we have evolved, over thousands, if not millions of years. So that proactive avoidance of food can just help us all the time, right? We naturally fast, of course, even without thinking about it, because there is a number of hours in our 24-hour day in which we don't eat, and that's when we are asleep.
Right.
There are some people who wake up in the middle of the night and eat, and that's a big no-no, of course. But the vast majority of people, when they sleep, they sleep. And when we're sleeping, the only thing that goes through our mouths really is the air that we breathe. We don't take any. So there is a number of hours in our 24-hour day in which we're not eating. And what we're saying is, let's expand that. Let's have more hours within that 24 hours where we are abstaining. And the idea of abstaining from food, the idea of fasting actually is ancient in our history. If we look at many religions that have been around for many, hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, fasting is actually part of practicing that religion in many religions. And also in terms of culture, in many cultures, people fast in order to pray for something or also to cure a certain disease. So practicing fasting in this sense is really part of our history as human beings. And what we're saying is now that we live in a society where food is everywhere and all the time, let's put a time out to when we eat and enjoy it.
Right.
Rather than mindlessly graze all the time as if we are, cows or sheep in the middle of the grass that we eat continuously. Let's say, look, we're going to eat only at certain times. And that's the basis really of intermittent fasting. And it has become very popular now. A lot of people do it and a lot of people rave about it. But beyond that, there have been studies that have shown that, good, healthy changes can occur if people practice intermittent fasting. In fact, just in April, there was a review study where people really looked at many different trials. They put them together with certain scientific methods to see if there was an outcome that was positive when people practice intermittent fasting. And there was improvement in health in terms of decreasing the waist circumference of people, which is an important parameter, decreasing blood pressure, improving blood sugar control, which are very important things. And then, as you mentioned, this is a way of really decreasing your intake without spending any money, right? All of if you go on different commercial diets, you are likely to have to buy something, right? With intermittent fasting, all you're doing really is refraining from eating all the time, and that doesn't cost you anything. And that's the idea. And then, of course, we can talk about the importance of
eating a certain time. It helps me to kind of schedule certain things in a better way. So one of the reasons when I had the two puddings together is, if I have one and then 3 hours later, then the whole, plumbing is not working. So I don't go to the bathroom in the office. Like I go for maybe a couple times for one, but I know when I'm going to have my number two. So I know I can schedule those things. That's important for me, especially now we don't have the private bathroom yet. So, but the thing is, like, there is this standardization of how our body is working. And also, can you do it? like when you and I started several years ago, I remember first day being tough, but then we were texting each other to see how we were doing, and you survived. Then once you get the first week through, then it's like right now I don't want to eat all the time. I can tell you that. I mean, sometimes my family they make because I see them every so often. They're like, you don't eat much. Well, I don't because I don't need it. So and also there's also practice of not eating, and I want to share this so that our people also understand. One of the really important part of what we do day to day is keep track of the diet and also the exercise, the fitness level. So this is, I openly share and hopefully people can see without a problem. This is June and July. Some days I probably didn't enter everything, but I give you here, like there are 23 days that I recorded. And in that 23 days, my average fasting time is 17 hours.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So now I put some, milestones here. Like if you look at the being clear on diet, those 23 days, I'm clear from any type of dessert. I have not had ice cream during this time. Well, at least this 23 days. So, and I also look at this one to see when I started the Robard, like you can see on July 15th. So when I told you that I started, last week, so actually that's on July 15th. So now I'm doing it. So I did it for 18 hours for 5-6 days, now 17 hours, and it's working. Now I feel again, really like from the healthcare provider standpoint, I feel so much better and more responsible for our patients. I don't want to give someone something that's not reasonable and doable. Hey, it's doable. So record it and then record your activities. Is it hard to do certain things? No, it's just the excuse is just yourself. I can tell you today, like you came here from your office, we used to have this in Zoom,
Right.
and there's some convenience factors when we do this Zoom. So you don't have to, waste maybe 40 minutes between back and forth, right? Well, it's on your way from the office to the house. But also this setup is different. So I can give you 20 different reasons why we shouldn't do this in person. But I know the right way to do it is this is the right way to do it.
Yes.
So because it's more natural and more so, this giving excuses business is we are not interested in that. So this is doable, reasonable. So and you want to do this for yourself. And not only Robard is doable, but also Robard with intermittent fasting is doable. So one issue with these different things that we try, we want them to have a consultation with their healthcare providers. This can be their primary care, but dietitians, if they are in the morbid obesity range, they should definitely have this discussion with their surgeons. So can you actually elaborate that?
Absolutely. So intermittent fasting, by and large, is a safe practice, right? The vast majority of people can do it very safely. And to just explain what you were telling us about the average hours, essentially you were saying that you did it for 17 hours or for 18 hours. Essentially, it means that within a 24-hour cycle, you were able to fast for about 18 hours with abstention from food completely, which means you had a window of 6 hours, right, in which you were eating. If you did 17 hours, it means your window was 7 hours, your eating window, right? And there are different ways of doing this. There are some people, for instance, who do something called 5 and 2, which essentially it means that if you take a 7-day week, they would be taking very little calorie in 2 days, but then they would eat normally in the other 5. So these are various methods, and one can choose whatever method they want. And in terms of safety, though, the vast majority of people it is safe. But there are certain situations where people have to exercise care. For instance, diabetic patients who are taking medications for diabetes, right? If you're proactively taking medications that are supposed to decrease your blood sugar level, then you have to consult with your doctor as to how to do intermittent fasting safely, because we don't want somebody who is fasting and then they take a diabetes medication, then their blood sugar will plummet, essentially, right? So people who have diabetes and they are taking medications, for instance, would definitely need to consult with their doctor about how to safely practice intermittent fasting. Now, we talk about that to our bariatric patients as a good practice as well. And I think particularly for post-bariatric surgery patients, this is important. And I'm not saying they have to do it in extreme fashion, but they should have some kind of schedule where they abstain from it. And I think the importance of this for bariatric patients is twofold. Okay, one is one of the reasons that we see people struggle after bariatric surgery in terms of not losing adequate amount of weight or even regaining some weight is if they start grazing or snacking mindlessly, right? Because they've had bariatric surgery, they cannot eat a lot of food in one setting, right? Because with bariatric surgery, their stomach has been reduced to a much smaller volume. But what they can do if they're not careful is eat continuously small amounts of food that can add up into a significant calorie intake that will sabotage their journey, right? But if they do put, windows in which they allow themselves to eat and windows in which they are abstaining from food, which means intermittent fasting, then that will help them, right? It will also help them because in their eating window, they will not be able to barge in a lot of food because their stomach is small. So I think intermittent fasting is actually fairly well suited for bariatric patients. And I do talk to my patients about this in terms of what they can do to stay successful in the long term. So safety-wise, it is safe, but for people who are taking medications, particularly for conditions like diabetes, they probably need to really talk to their doctors and make sure that they can do it safely so that they don't get in trouble with their blood sugar level.
So when you were explaining the excess calories, throughout this time in the last 3-4 months, maybe 5 months, I don't know. Prior to that, I used to have a latte every morning from Starbucks. It's five and a half, I guess, $5.50.
Probably higher now, yeah.
It's maybe higher now. Yeah. So it's 250 to 300 calories. And I was doing that every day. So 300 calories, in order to burn 300 calories, how much walk, how much run, how much yard work, how much tennis you have to do is a lot.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, one of these things with these phones now, like I have it with the tennis, I'm killing myself for an hour and then it just gives me like 600 calories. Like, are you kidding me? Like I hit like 160, 165 heartbeat and it's only 600 calories. So now I'm getting that in 2 cups of latte. That's great. So there are very simple things. Like you don't have to make this complicated. You make a list. That's why I'm keep track of what I'm doing. You make a list, and then you see all those extra calories that you are doing, and you'll be amazed. And then if you are able to kind of like consolidate those, number one, you're going to save a lot of money. Number two, you're going to save a lot of calories. Now, instead of Starbucks latte, what I do is I have Turkish coffee in the morning at home. So it's 0 calorie because I don't put sugar, maybe just very little. I mean, if it's anything, it's like an espresso. And actually, it's more helpful for me. Doesn't have milk in it, doesn't it? Just water, and it tastes good. It does the work in terms of the caffeine. So, well, I can do either that, or I can, spend $5-6 just once, just for one coffee. You can get the whole pack of the Turkish coffee that will last you for 2 weeks for that, and then 0 calories. So you can beat that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've made a great point here, right? About how much harder it is to lose weight and how much easier it is to gain weight, right? So basically, it's very, very easy to take in 200 calories. It's very hard to burn that 200 calories. And that's because our body is designed primarily to hold on to energy, to hold on to weight. And it doesn't know how to share that weight. It's not designed for this. We primarily were designed to hold on to energy because we need to survive in an environment where food was scarce. That was our early history, right, as human beings. So, patients come to me and say, I'm not eating very much. I'm eating just this and that. And yet the weight doesn't come up. Of course it doesn't, because it is extremely difficult unless you really restrict yourself significantly in terms of the calorie intake. One example that I tell people about, Kemal, is that if you have somebody who was eating a certain way for years, for instance, and they've kept their weight stable, let's say that person starts eating 100 calorie extra every day, which 100 calorie, by the way, is a slice of bread. Just think about it, right? So they eat one extra slice of bread a day now, right? It's 100 calories. And they may find that at the end of the year now, their weight has gone up by 10 pounds, right? So a steady weight with a certain amount of intake. Now they bump their intake with 100 extra calorie a day with one slice of bread extra. Now their weight has gone up 10 pounds. Well, let's reverse the situation. If that person was taking the same amount of calorie for years and they were stable in their weight, what would happen if now they subtracted 100 calorie from their diet? If they took 100 calorie less every day, you would expect, if our body was treating weight gain and weight loss the same, you'd expect that person now to lose 10 pounds. Absolutely not. That person's weight will be the same, which means that you really people need to understand that they cannot reason with their body saying, okay, I gave you this extra calories the other day, now I'm going to take them away, you got to give me weight loss now. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't reason that. So that's why people hit their head on the wall and say, what is happening? Why am I not losing weight despite the fact that I'm eating 400 less calories a day, right? To lose weight, it is important for them to engage in a lifestyle that consistently leads to decreased calorie intake in a significant way, right? So if somebody was taking 3,000 calories before and now they're doing 2,500, they may lose a little bit of weight, but not very much. Their calorie intake will have to decrease significantly for them to have an impact. And that's where intermittent fasting can be useful.
Dr. Irgau, one thing that I see with what you related to what you are saying, and I have these conversations with myself. This is our therapy sessions, right? So our patients should feel good about themselves, and because we are sharing everything just like the way it is. Your body is smart, but it's not just one. There are like different parts of our body that function differently, and it's kind of independent. So if you as a person, if you take yourself out, there's still 2-3 big mechanisms in the system in our body that makes decisions.
Totally.
So now when you put yourself in the equation, then here's what I see. If I can make those mechanisms to trust me, so that it knows that it's going to get food certain time, then it's not saving as much. The problem is with these inconsistencies, it doesn't know when it's going to get the next one. Boom, it just saves whatever it gets.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things that, and I think sometimes I guess I'm cheating, so then my body knows that I'm not, being honest. So it's just all about like, can we make this consistent where intermittent diet actually is helping to get to that consistency. So I mean, like my body knows that I'm Monday through Friday, I'm gonna have that chocolate pudding at 1:30 p.m. Now, today is an exception because we have the 2 p.m. session and I didn't want to eat before the session. Then between the 2 and 3, there's no time to eat. Now I'm stretching to the longer hours. So like what happens now? So 8 to 8, 12, 16. So it's 20 hours. I'm on a 20-hour stretch.
Yeah.
And now it's want something a little bit more than the chocolate pudding. If I was able to eat that at 1 p.m., I promise you I wouldn't have to worry about what I'm going to eat now, because I would wait until 7, 8 tonight. So that's simple. Now, simple, but it's complicated in a way that you have to figure it out. What's the right balance for you? So this is the personal approach, understanding what we are telling you, but see how that fits into your life. Like last week after our session, one of our employees, she came to me and she's following some of the stuff that we are doing and I'm doing, and she was interested in what I was doing, and now she's doing it. So I want to hear from her later on how she's doing, and that means we are able to give the message to the right people if they are willing to take. Now, those who are not dealing with morbid obesity is one thing, but if you are in the program, we want you to definitely lose certain amount of weight because that's risking your surgery. And because of the liver enlargements and the complications in the stomach area, this is helping less complications and better outcomes, if you can elaborate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what you really are touching upon is the preparation of bariatric patients, right, Kemal? So clearly, the higher the weight, the higher the body mass index, the more risks there are to the surgery. And we know that, right? We know that obesity by itself, high weight by itself, increases the risk of any type of surgery. And obviously bariatric surgery as well. So we want to prepare our patients optimally as much as we can, right? Now, for some people, the idea that we get our patients to lose some weight before surgery may sound a little bit strange because the surgery itself is supposed to help them lose weight. But actually, there is really a very important reason here. First of all, short-term weight loss is always possible. And our patients have done it many times, right? So if a patient comes into my office and they are 480 pounds and most of their weight is around their waist, and the surgery will be undertaken on their abdomen, their waist, right? Clearly the size of their liver, the preponderance of fat in their omentum, all that will physically be a hindrance to the safe performance of the surgery. So reducing all that, what we call visceral fat, before the surgery will make the surgery much less challenging, right? And that's why we put our patients on a special diet to reduce the size of the liver, to reduce the visceral load so that the surgery can be performed more safely, right? That's the idea. But also, we want to really plant this idea of healthy eating from the get-go, from the time the patient hits the door and they come for consultation. We want to talk about healthy choices. We want to talk about a change in lifestyle.
Right.
Because that is going to be, yes, absolutely. That is going to be part and parcel of the reasons why they will be successful in the long term. It's not just about the surgery. The surgery is a means for them to have a powerful tool that will carry them through in their efforts, right? That is why we have such an extensive preparation. We don't want our patients to come to our office thinking we will wave a magic wand, but then they have to eat whatever they want, whenever they want. Not so, not so. There has to be a change in mindset. What we want to see is we want to see patients who have tried in the past really and significantly And they have failed. And they have failed not because they are failures themselves, it's because they are fighting a disease that is so intransigent and they need a powerful tool to help them. But we don't want them to stop the efforts that they were doing before. So if they have failed with diets and exercise, what we're saying to them is not to stop diet and exercise and add surgery. What we're saying to them is keep on doing the dieting, keep on doing the exercise. We will add this powerful surgical tool that will make it now successful for the long term. And intermittent fasting can be incorporated in such a way for patients who are open to the idea and willing to do it.
You know, one of the other benefits or make it why intermittent fasting probably easier that I feel at least. Many diets, when we say you're going to be on a diet, you're going to be restricting certain foods. You're going to, stay away from something that you like the most for a long time. And that's where it becomes more difficult because you are consumed with the mis-eating this or that. But with intermittent fasting, because you have that time eating range, you don't have to restrict what you are eating. I'm not saying excessive eating. I'm talking about you can eat steak, you can eat gyro, which Turkish gyro. Well, actually, we need to call it döner, so then I don't get in trouble. So there's restriction is not on the stuff that we like to eat. So that makes it easier. So if I want to have, like if I'm not going to have French fries ever for 4 months because I'm on diet, that's not easy to do. But if you do the intermittent fasting, I can have that fries with some other stuff with it, and I'm done with it. So it's not consumed with, oh my God, like please give me some fries. It doesn't happen. So your energy is on the right place.
Absolutely.
So this is definitely beneficial for everyone, but it's more beneficial for those patients who are going through this process. It's a really great way to complete that transition because this is a lifestyle change that we are aiming for, because it doesn't matter whether you have morbid obesity or not. Everyone has to follow certain things at different levels, but very similar things.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know when was the last time you were on a cruise or if you have ever been in one, but the most amazing thing about cruises, for a vacation is the extreme availability of food all the time, everywhere. So every deck you go to, at any time, there will be some type of food. So if you're on a cruise, you're eating all the time. And, and this is obviously something that is done because people, enjoy eating, but it's really an extreme manifestation of what our society already is, right? So we're saying, we're eating all the time, but we're going to take it to a completely different level. We're going to weaponize food completely, right? And we have the cruise for that. But actually, our daily living in a society like ours in America is a miniature cruise, if you think about it, because I just have to walk out from your studio here, Kemal, and I'm not going to be able to step, 5-6 feet before I can find some type of food somewhere, export, right? Which will be totally accessible to me, right? And then I don't have to walk another 5-10 steps before I see another one. And it's the same when I go down and start driving. I will see store after store after store after store where the main item on display is food displayed in the most appealing way, not only in its colors for the side, but also in the smell that emanates from the space, right? So we're surrounded by that kind of atmosphere, and it's no surprise that we're struggling with so much obesity in our society. In fact, sometimes I wonder why obesity is not even way worse than where it is right now, considering how much exposure there is. And what an easy way to really address that than say to yourself, I am not open for eating from this hour to this hour. So it doesn't become an issue. I can walk across your office without having to worry about tasting something because I am in my fasting window, right? And I can do the same as I drive because despite all these places we put, I am in my fasting window, so I'm not going to have it. So for the society in which we live, I think this is actually a very useful way for us to curtail the amount of calorie that we take and therefore stay healthy.
So the all you can eat reminds me of polar bears, brown bears, other bears. So they do it for a reason, because they do hibernate. We humans don't hibernate, so you don't need to go or do all you can eat type of stuff because you won't be sleeping for the entire winter.
Yes.
Right? So there's no need for that. So doing that, you'll become like a polar bear before the winter sleep. So that's the whole thing.
Yes.
So you need to know, that's why you have this understanding of your body and different mechanisms in it and the soul. What do I need? When do I need it? And can I actually standardize it, uniform it, so then there is that peaceful kind of cycle working. So, but hopefully, we are able to reach out to those individuals and help them. But again, my point is, everything that we are trying to ask them to do is something that we try to make sure that it's doable. So intermittent fasting is one of the best things. It makes the life a lot more simpler. I can tell you from that point. I don't like people eating in my office. I don't like people just eating around at my house. So there's a time to eat. So it makes things clean. It makes it keeps things clean. So this is the right thing for many people. Try and see how it is. Share the results with us. When you come to the visits with your surgeons or with your nutritionists, ask them their help. Again, you mentioned earlier, but nutrition is very important during this process because we are not able to observe enough nutrition. So make sure you take your multivitamins and work with your nutritionist and your healthcare profession, so then they can actually help you throughout this journey. Dr. Irgau, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This is more fun now that you are here in person.
I love it. It's great.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, please stay safe and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.